The tension between them continued to build. Ralph was no longer the man who had been by her side through thick and thin. He had become someone else, someone she didn't recognize, and finally, the inevitable happened. Ralph, with cold finality, told Sandra that he wanted a divorce. I can't do this anymore, he said, his voice distant, as though he were speaking to a stranger. We're not happy. I am not happy. I want out. Sandra's heart broke into a million pieces. She begged him not to leave, pleaded with him to reconsider. But Ralph was unmoved. The divorce papers were already prepared, and Sandra had no choice but to sign them. The next few days were a blur. Ralph took no interest in their daughter, and he didn't even ask to see her. He was done. He had moved on, and it was clear that nothing Sandra would do would change his mind. Soon after, Ralph and Sonia made their relationship public. They began posting pictures of their vacations, their outings, their moments together, each one a painful reminder of the life Sandra had lost. And in a final act of cruelty, Ralph posted the divorce papers online, claiming that Sandra had divorced him. He told the world that he was now a free man, leaving behind a wife who had once stood by him through everything. Sandra cried herself to sleep every night, her heart heavy with grief. But even in the depths of her sorrow, something inside of her began to change. She wasn't going to let this destroy her, not for herself and not for her daughter. Despite everything, one thought kept her grounded: her daughter. She couldn't afford to let her daughter see her like this. She had to fight for herself, for her daughter, for the woman she used to be. But where could she even begin? It was in the quiet of her room late at night, after a long day of therapy and emotional exhaustion, that Sandra made a decision. She wasn't going to be a victim. She wasn't going to let Ralph's betrayal define her. She would fight to reclaim herself, to walk again, to build a life that was hers and hers alone. Her first step was therapy. It had been difficult at first, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Learning to live with her paralysis was one thing, but learning to heal the wounds in her heart was something else entirely. But she kept going. One day at a time, she met with her therapist regularly, walked through her pain, and slowly began to rebuild the strength she had once known. As her body started to heal, so did her mind. Each step she took, each small victory brought a sense of empowerment. One day, after months of hard work, Sandra stood. She had a walker in front of her and her legs trembled with exhaustion, but she did it. She stood on her own 2 feet. Tears welled up in her eyes and she realized just how far she had come. She could feel the power in her legs again. The familiar sensation of standing tall. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Rav, meanwhile, was unaware of Sandra's progress. He was still caught up in his own life, in his own new life with Sonia, posting pictures of their outing, pretending to be the perfect couple. He seemed to have forgotten everything about Sandra, the woman who had once supported him, who had loved him through his flaws and successes. He didn't care about the progress she was making. He was too busy enjoying the life he had chosen for himself. Then a turning point came. Ralph and Sonia attended a popular red carpet event in Lagos. The media was abuzz with the latest gossip about their relationship, and Ralph, ever the actor, was playing the role of the happy husband with ease. They were posing for pictures, laughing together, acting as if nothing has changed, as if their lives were perfect. Sandra, still healing but stronger than ever, decided to attend the event as well. She had been invited by a few friends who had noticed her newfound resilience. It was a fashion event, a chance for her to show the world that she was more than just the woman Ralph had left behind. She had worked hard to regain her beauty, her confidence, and her independence. She wasn't going to hide anymore. When Sandra arrived at the event, hair stunned, she was radiant, her new strength and confidence shining through every step she took. Her dress hugged her curves in all the right places, and her smile was warming and inviting. She had become a woman reborn, a woman who refused to be defined by her past. As soon as Ralph saw her, his heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected this. The woman he had abandoned, the woman he had once seen as fragile and broken, was now standing before him, more beautiful and powerful than ever. The sight of her made his heart race, and for a moment he was paralyzed, unable to look away. Sonia noticed it. She saw the way Ralph's eyes lingered on Sandra, the way his smile flattered. She felt a pang of jealousy twist in her stomach. Ralph hadn't looked at her like that in months. He had always adored Sandra, and seeing her like this, the woman he had left behind, had brought something inside him to the surface. It was regret, mixed with longing, a feeling he had buried for too long. Sonia, sensing the shift in the air, felt the jealousy rising. She took Ralph's hand, pulling him away from Sandra. But it was too late, the damage was done. Ralph had seen it, he had seen the woman Sandra had become, and it was clear to him now he had made a mistake. As the night came to a close, a fan who had been watching the interaction between Ralph, Sonia, and Sandra captured the photo. It was a candid moment. Ralph staring at Sandra with a mixture of admiration and regret. The photo was posted online and soon it went viral. The caption read, Ralph, starstruck by his ex-wife at the event. What happened to them? The post exploded across social media and people began to comment, wondering what had gone wrong with Ralph and Sandra. Some expressed their support for Sandra, praising her strength and beauty. Others questioned Ralph's decision to leave her. The once perfect couple was now the subject of public debate. Ralph, however, could no longer deny the truth. He had made a mistake, and Sonia, noticing Ralph's change in demeanor, began to feel the cracks in their relationship. She wasn't the one who had Ralph's heart, it was Sandra. As Sandra's popularity grew, she began to receive invitations for more events, including movie premieres. Her confidence, strength, and resilience had made her a beacon of inspiration to many. She was no longer the broken woman Ralph had left behind. She was a force to be reckoned with, and the world was beginning to see it. Meanwhile, Ralph and Sonia's relationship continued to crumble. The tension between them was palpable, and the more Ralph followed Sandra's journey on social media, the more it became clear that he wanted her back. But Sandra was no longer the woman he had abandoned. She had found herself again and she wasn't going back. Ralph's marriage to Sonia, once a beacon of hope and fresh start, had crumbled. Their relationship, which had seemed been filled with passion and excitement at first, was now a shell of what it had become. Sonia could sense that something was wrong. Ralph was no longer the man she had fallen in love with. He was consumed by his obsession with Sandra. He followed her on Instagram in secret, stalking her posts, admiring her photos, and leaving comments under her pictures when Sonia wasn't around. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, Ralph's phone buzzed with a new notification. It was a picture of Sandra at another glamorous event, looking stunning in a floor-length gown. She was surrounded by fans posing for photos, radiating confidence and grace. Ralph couldn't look away. What's going on with you, Ralph? Sonia asked. Her voice tingled with suspicion. You have been staring at her picture for minutes now. Is this what you have been doing behind my back? Ralph looked up, startled, his mind raced. He hadn't meant for Sonia to find out, but there was no need denying it now. His obsession with Sandra had become an open secret and he couldn't pretend any longer. I don't know what's happening, Sonia, Ralph said, and his voice shaky. I can't stop thinking about her. Sandra, she's changed. She's not the woman I left. She's stronger now. And and I can't help but admire her. I made a huge mistake. Sonia's eyes narrowed, her jealousy and anger rising. You think I don't see it? Sonia spat, her voice rising. You're still in love with her, aren't you? You're still hung on your ex-wife and you're using me as a distraction. Ralph didn't respond. He knew she was right. He had been using Sonia to fill the void that Sandra had left, but it hadn't worked. Nothing could replace the connection he had once shared with her. Nothing could erase the regret that gnawed at him every day. Sonia, hot and angry, stood up. I can't do this anymore, Rav. I won't be your second choice, your backup. If you want Sandra, then go to her. But don't expect me to be here when you come crawling back. With that, Sonia walked out, leaving Rab standing alone in the dimly lit room. He felt the weight of her departure like a ton of bricks, but there was no time to dwell on it. Ralph knew he had one last chance to fix things, one last chance to win Sandra back. Days later, Ralph saw Sandra at a charity event, a prestigious gathering where she was the guest of honor. She looked radiant, poised, and completely at ease. Ralph stood in the background, watching her with a mixture of awe and longing. Sandra, noticing him from across the room, felt a strange mix of emotions. Ralph approached her cautiously, unsure of how to begin. He was no longer the confident man he once was. Instead, he was a shell of the person he had been, consumed by guilt and regret. Sandra, he said, his voice low, can we talk? Sandra turned to face him, her gaze cool but unwavering. She had seen the pain in his eyes, but she also saw something else, an emptiness. Ralph had come to her, but he wasn't the man he used to be. He wasn't the man she needed. She had moved forward, and there was no place for him in her life anymore. I don't think there is anything left to say, Rav, Sandra replied, her voice firm yet gentle. You made your choice. You chose to leave me when I needed you the most. You abandoned me, and now you want to come back into my life, but it's too late. Rav's heart clenched as he heard the finality in her voice. He had hoped for forgiveness, for a second chance, but the truth was clear. He had lost her. He had lost everything. I'm sorry, Ralph whispered, his voice breaking. I made a huge mistake. I was selfish. I thought I could move on, but I can't. I miss you, Sandra. I never should have left you. Sandra looked at him, her eyes filled with a quiet strength. I've learned to live without you, Ralph. I've learned to be strong on my own. I don't need you to complete me. I'm already whole. The words hit Ralph like a slap in the face. He realized with painful clarity that Sandra was right. She has found herself again. She had rebuilt her life, and now she was thriving without him. He had lost her, and no amount of apologies would change that. As Sandra turned to walk away, Ralph reached out a hand, but she didn't look back. She didn't need to. She and her daughter, she had her career and she had her own strength. For the first time in years, she was free, free from the man who had once been her everything, free from the lies, free from the past. Ralph stood there frozen in place as Sandra walked away. He had lost the love of his life, and there was nothing he could do to get her back. As he watched her leave, a wave of regret washed over him. It was too late. The woman who had once been his everything was now thriving without him, and Rav was left to deal with the consequences of his action. I hope you did enjoy this amazing, amazing story with moral lesson. If this is your first time stumbling into Obiageli stories, you're highly welcome. Please don't forget to click on the subscribe button and turn on your bell button to get other updates. For my returning